can meet ourselves by choosing how we want to show up. Let's make 2020 the year that we actually get some shit done. So welcome everyone to another episode of Straight Talk. I am here with my amazing friend and colleague, Krishna Lakkineni. He is the owner of ROI Media Works. He is an entrepreneur turned speaker and author. And we're going to talk about a couple of his books. He's got 4 or 5 of them out now. Full of meditations, full of spiritual connections, which I love him for. And just wanted to invite Krishna on to have a really cool conversation, and we'll see where it goes. And trust us, we have no idea on where this might go yet. It's all good.
Thanks for having me, Janice.
I love it.
We know each other for a long time enough, so we became like a family, and we do things together. And this is one of the things we decided to do during quarantine, so why not, right?
Well, and Krishna and I were just starting this out. I was saying that the one thing I've learned about Zoom meetings is I now wear 3 pairs of glasses, depending on where the screen is and what I'm doing. Yeah, I never felt so old so recently in all my life. So what are some of the things that you're doing? I mean, you're based in an IT company, which is, this is your sandbox right now. Oh my God. But what are some of the things that you're noticing that you're needing to pivot yourself or do differently because of the pandemic?
We have been focusing on marketing, services. And as soon as the COVID hit, we lost all our hospitality clients and tourism clients, and then some B2B clients. Nobody was expecting this, but again, can we sustain those through these times and then pivot our business into something else? And luckily for us, we also offer e-commerce solutions for clients. So you have a point of sale system and you want to sell online. And these systems existed for the last 10, 15 years. But I think COVID is an awakening for a lot of businesses that they can do this online. So a lot of restaurants are selling through online and they have these stores. And a lot of retail stores now having their own stores and selling it online. And within the first week, we launched about 3 stores for different clients and set up all their inventory online, and at least they can sell. They can't service, but they have products that they can sell. So it just became more like a consulting role to look at the overall business. What are the things that we can take advantage of right now for that business, for that client? Mm-hmm. And then how it aligns with the long-term vision the business has. So during this downtime, it allowed every business to look into the bigger perspective of why they started the business, where they wanted to go, and what are the bottlenecks, and what is the short-term solution. It just allowed us to think at a different level.
Yeah. Well, right. One of the things that I'm really aware of, and so as we're having more and more conversations, as much as we need to pivot businesses and we're looking at where we're sitting and what that's going to look like, it's really coming down to our mindsets. What I'm watching is there's people like, no, I'm good. I'm going to stay at home. I'll collect whatever money the government's willing to give me right now, and I'll just wait and see what happens. So there's this pulling back kind of energy. And I appreciate there's also this desire of being able to, sort of sit and rest in, I'll just take a breath. This is just my opportunity to take a breath. But at the same time, I think for businesses or leaders, it's about us leveling up and stepping up into our mindset so that we're actually being proactive and not reactive. We need to get our head in the game and our head out of our ass is really what I think we need to do.
Yeah, totally. I mean, there's nothing wrong like resting. I know many of entrepreneurs that I work with, they hustle and there is limited family time. There's nothing wrong taking a break, but evaluate the whole situation and look at, there is a panic. Everybody wants to close the businesses and whatnot, but eventually we all need to pay the bills and we all have our responsibilities and take care of families and whatnot. So it will come out eventually, but based on the mindset, somebody might take like a couple of weeks and few businesses might take a couple of months. But at the end of the day, it will go back to a new normal. And the other thing I have been seeing is, I think the fear gets bust for a lot of us because we're dealing with something unknown. The way a lot of us grew up, we improvise for every single situation.
Well, and I think there's a big piece, and I know even for myself, like I've always, as an entrepreneur, I've always said, you know what, whatever it comes to, I'll do whatever's necessary. I'll pump gas, I'll do whatever I need to put food on the table. It's a little bit different in this pandemic when it's like, well, actually, that's not really an option at the moment. But there is
Yeah,
that energy around hustling. But in terms of the mindset, what are some of the things that you're doing to keep your mindset in the game? I know some of the answers I think you're going to say, but let's actually just put it out there to you.
Well, I was shocked too. Like when you have, your sales are coming off the cliff and there's no revenues, and you have your employees and your, family to take care of, and you're dealing with something unknown. But I just looked at what's happening probably for a week. Like I was in that mode. Let's do more research. What is the outcome for ROI Media Works? One thing I always look for myself is the long-term purpose, right? Like the community aspect of what we do. We were working on certain projects, and then certain projects went on into hold. And that allowed me to have some personal time. And I looked at what are the community projects that are happening that I can volunteer.
And I know exactly what you did with your community, quote, personal time, because you were instrumental in locally getting Kamloops Caremongers Kamloops, and then KamloopsCares.ca up and running. But honestly, Krishna, if it wasn't for you and Chris Bundergaard, it would not have happened.
Yeah, like, two tech companies just got together. Like, I was volunteering and I built this.
I love you. Two tech companies just kind of got together. We both are committed to community and no big deal. And you're sweet.
Yeah, that's again the beauty of how things force us to do things. And I have seen some other businesses looked at, oh, like you're my competition. I don't want to be part of that. Yeah. That's all like, big BS, right? Like when you have the big picture and caring about the community, you just step in, you jump in and you partner up and you help out where you can. So I was building that end-to-end system, and then I was so busy. So I kind of like took a step back and just looked at the business, and then, okay, what are the projects out there that I can volunteer with? But I think for every business, I want them to consider look at the long-term purpose. I don't think any entrepreneur out there just started the business, I want to make money.
No, it's because you've got a passion or a desire or a calling, or there's a piece of you that wants to be of service, or you see where there's a niche that you can step into. And it's fueling that. It's the money's part of it, but it's you can't work these kind of hours and put in this kind of energy as an entrepreneur if you don't actually like what you're doing or like where it's going to take you.
It's all about making that difference, right? Yeah. Like you have a skill set, okay, like we all need to pay the bills, and you want to grow as a person and also in the community and through the business, right? And it all tied back to the personal core values and the mindset at the end of the day. That's how I see it.
I agree. One of the things that I want to bring to the table, I'm curious, what are you writing now? If we could look at this time frame as sort of your life a book, what chapter are you in and what are you writing? What are you doing for you?
Right now, I'm just writing that one book. I'm that kid. So I've been writing a lot, and I have been recording a lot of videos in terms of what it is as a person, and also in terms of marketing, how things work. And a lot of people don't know this. A lot of businesses think I pay X amount of money and that's it. I see my ad, but there's a lot more to it. So how do I dissect that and share that knowledge? So I'm recording those videos that I can just share with everybody that want to use it.
It is that piece about how are we investing in ourselves, regardless of the pandemic, but just on a daily basis, on a weekly basis. How do we stand up and be on our side and give back to ourselves, take care of ourselves in a way then that we respect ourselves, right? That we have that internal energy of going, well, I'm good. Thank you very much for noticing self. It's not an ego out there. It's an internal knowing that we have because of the work that we're actually doing. That's how I see it. I love that you've read that many books. Honestly, I'm the person that has never, well, occasionally I read a book cover to cover, occasionally. Most times it just feels good to have it. I'll read a paragraph, a piece of it. I'll be working on a project and I'll go to my library and I'll pull out a book and I'll just grab it. But I will watch TED Talks. I will watch interviews. I will listen and take all that information in that way. But reading, I don't tend to absorb it in the same way.
Yeah, that's totally fine, right? Like
Yeah.
I read books and I have Audible and I listen to different type of books. And then I watch a lot of videos that are like inspiring and motivational, right?
Yeah.
Like a lot of Simon Sinek and, Jim Quick and all these guys. But it's a quest, right? Like, what is the end limit for human capabilities? And I believe that we have the unlimited supply of whatever we want to do. But at the same time, as the soul stays in this body, how do we nurture our physical environment to connect to our spirituality and then just keep being curious and then moving forward, right? And
I keep trying, and I say trying because it is a practice. It's a work in progress. You listen to so many different speakers, people, and then the background in terms of Ayurvedic medicine around morning time and getting up early and having morning rituals or a habit stack, routines, those kinds of things. And for me, sleep is the number one thing in my world that when I don't get it, I don't function well. I have proven that theory over and over again. So it's how do I get enough sleep? And then there's a part of me that still would like to get up at the 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning, really power through and get that. And I'm like, yeah, no, man, I'm just in bed. So there comes that place where we have to, I think, find the pieces of the tools that are going to work for us. And if we can use this opportunity of where things have slowed down a little bit as a place to actually find the things that fit for us right now and then lock down onto those and keep them with us. Because I think that's where the foundation gets built, and that's going to serve us when we come out of this. When, as we talk about the new normal, I'm getting so tired of that phrasing. I just got to say, can we quit calling it an old normal and new normal? Can we just call it life? Life. This is just life. Life is changing.
Just a new chapter.
It's a new chapter. But one of the questions that I'm asking everybody that I'm having on Straight Talk is, 6 months from now, if you look back at yourself, what do you want to have done as a result of coming through this? And I don't mean just physical doing out there, but that personal piece, so that when you look back, you don't go, oh man, I wasted that time, or I wish I had. Like, what do you want to do so you come through with this with no regrets?
It's all about using the time, right? There's a saying, if you're given $1,000 a day and you had to spend it by end of the day, and you don't have the same $1,000 for the next day, and you will never get back the same $1,000. Mm-hmm. So how do you apply that to time? And I think our mindsets are tuned to understanding money, and we don't understand enough about our time. And that's the greatest gift that we all have. And how do we nurture ourselves personally, and then our relationships? And if you have a business, how do you service your clients? And at the end of 6 months, these are the things that you want to do. Like, pick one. And I know, some people are still working, and some people have plenty of time to do a lot of self-care.
Yeah.
But it all falls down to, are you about, and you moved forward from where you are before? Using that time that we have wisely, learning a new language. If you are an artist when you were a kid and you never had time, go back to that. How can you learn to forgive more? How can you learn to love more about yourself? Like all that self-negative talk that happened that shaped you differently. And it doesn't happen just like that. You had to do the research. You want to stay curious. You read the books. And every culture teaches these things. And it's not something we are inventing new, but we're gleaning into our past, looking into our history, and what can we learn, and how do we adapt to our current situation?
Well, and we do learn from history. History does repeat itself, in terms of core philosophy or changes, not the actual environment per se, but anthropology is how we actually can get to know ourselves. And then we add on the social conditioning in whatever that time period was. And that actually does and can give us a lot of information for who we are today, but it can also give us information for where we're going and how to learn from the lessons of the past to make a different impact in our future. and I mean, no disrespect to the stress, the financial, the illness, all of that is happening right now. I think this is a positive change for our future, both on a personal level and on a global scale, energetically speaking. Yeah.
Yeah, it's totally like we are conditioned to behave in certain way and accept it as it is. There's no perfect way of looking at life and say this is how it works. It's all about in balance and in moderation and how we do things that are nurturing the relationships and as we are growing as a humanity.
Have you noticed a change where what you used to hear people say, oh, I don't have enough time. I would love to, but I don't have enough time. Yeah, that's a great idea later. That conversation is gone right now. That actually doesn't fly. And the difference is we're giving ourselves permission because we had time before if it was a priority that we wanted.
True, very true. And we say things that not even true when there is an opportunity. We question ourselves too much.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when you work the inner you and when the subconscious mind is active throughout the day, you will see these opportunities. And that is where the meditation and the exercises and the routines help a lot. Every culture has a different way of doing these things. And this is probably a way of the universe telling everybody, now you have time, do what you want to do.
I keep saying there's parties in my head because I have a committee of assholes and a committee of champions. And on any given day, they can all be at the boardroom table. The skill is learning how to quiet and know who and what to listen to, so that if I say no to something, it's because I know it's not the right fit for me, not because I'm scared to do it and I don't want to engage. So it's getting clear on, okay, who's actually saying no? Why are we saying no? Where's my cheerleader? Where's the champion? Because it's about having that distinction. And I think that's where, when we talk about spiritual practices, meditation, journaling, reading, informing our brains and bringing ourselves to open our awareness to other things, that's when we can start having a different conversation with ourselves internally.
It's all the mindset, like you said, and it's all about having those conversations, and like who you're surrounded with always matters, and you always want to be aware of it. And there are certain friends that are very negative and not happy with anything.
Just keep snoozing.
But yeah, just quarantine them for the time being until they feel better. As long
So as long I'm as on quarantine from you because you're just like a negative and you're just not my thing right now. I love it. That's great.
Yeah, and I think protecting the personal space is important, right? There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah,
and being a single dad, I have my kids to take care of, and I have a business, and I have this bigger vision to where I'm going, right?
Yeah, if something isn't giving you energy and lifting you up, you need to let it go, because it actually is going to take you out of your game. It's going to take you off of your purpose. And I'll speak for myself. If I'm already feeling some fear or trepidation or self-doubt or all those kinds of things that can be happening, then to have that information start coming in from the side and other people validate it makes it worse, makes it harder. Mm-hmm. So why don't I look for the people that are like, oh yeah, Janice. Now, I like critical thinking. I like people that are sharp, smart, and willing to say, have you looked at it this way? But that's not the same thing as telling me my idea sucks or stupid or I'm crazy, or there's a different place. So go find that person that's going to give you that opportunity. Follow whatever it is that you're being called to do. And even if you don't know what that is, it's like me doing straight talk. Someone said, so why are you doing it? And I'm like, because I want to. I don't know. It came as an idea. It felt right. I trust my gut. Okay, let's go. And really, that's my entire marketing strategy right there, because it was a marketing person that asked me the question, and I'm like, nope, I got no strategy. I'm following it. We'll see what happens. That's it.
Yeah. Life is a gift, and there are so many miracles around every single moment that we don't notice just because we are positioned to do one thing at a time. But when you understand and accept those things, it just opens up the infinite possibilities that we never explore. And I think when dealing with these type of people, it's about their mindsets and it's their journey, and you offer some help, and it's up to them.
That's the important distinction, is that it is their journey, and mine can be to contribute, to offer some help and support, but I don't get to live their life for them. Nor, and I learned this a long time ago with clients, I cannot want it more for them than they want it for themselves. And it's that I can lead the horse to water, but I can't make it drink. And trust me, I grew up with horses, totally get that in a very real way. It doesn't matter how hard you pull on the reins, or it's not going to happen if they don't want it to happen. Yeah, so,
I'm not doing it. And it's about the coexistence of everything, right? Again,
yep.
Rather than taking sides, how do you balance your thought process and how do you be on the middle ground all the time? You had to experience both aspects of life, like in terms of the pain and the darkness.
You can't actually experience joy if you've never had pain. You can't understand true happiness if you've never had sad. Yeah, very much so.
Yeah, they all are. And I think it's just understanding and opening ourselves to accept it, right? Like, when I work with somebody that with addiction issues and whatnot, they feel ignored and they're left out. Like, it's about being accepted. I mean, there are bad habits and whatnot, and you try to resolve, but at the end of the day, not just ignore those and see like I'm perfect and I'm like clean. It just never happens in anybody's life.
We don't live in an isolated vacuum.
This is a funny story I like to share as well. The gods are made out of rocks in India. It goes to the temple, gets worshipped, and people get donations. There's belief around it, and then usually the rest of the pieces of the same rock goes to the lakes where people wash clothes. So you wash your clothes and slam it on the same rock. So which one is really the god and whatnot? Like, irrespective of the question, but it all come from the same place.
Yeah.
You go to the gods and, forgive me, I'm a sinner and whatnot, right? But you want to come back clean, but are we really coming back clean out of the whole situation? Are we changing ourselves and how we conducting ourselves? I don't think we do that a lot, even though we have the intention.
So this is my personal philosophy. For me, there's more power in prayer of giving thanks, of gratitude, of acknowledgement than there is for I'm a sinner, I'm bad, I'm this. I would rather focus and lean into my strengths, focus and lean into where those blind spots are when they're pointed out to me or I'm given that information. But really, prayer is about acceptance and them being willing to receive. It's acceptance of where I'm at, and then gratitude for what I do have, because I think for me, that's where I get grace. That's where I get my compassion for humanity. That's where I can let go of being really judgmental. And trust me, I have got a judge on steroids.
It's very normal. It's just being aware of it, right? Like, ego is the biggest battle we all fight. Mm-hmm. And that always kicks in every single time to say something about your thoughts or what you're trying to do. But how do you let go? And that's the hard part, right? Like looking for gratitude in every situation. And I think gratitude is a bigger piece for many of them that were successful financially or peacefully or spiritually. That's where it made a big difference. And in that book, I was actually looking into, I call them soul elements of humanity: love, kindness, compassion, empathy, and forgiveness, and how they result gratitude in every aspect of life. Like when you're kind to somebody, what is that gratitude? And it's always, the lesson is both ways. It's just not like you're offering something to somebody, but you're also learning as a recipient, and how are you paying attention to it?
Yeah. I saw something recently, something I was reading, and Jim Carrey had made a statement around ego and please people. So there was somebody that was giving a homeless person a meal, it was a little burger, fries, whatever, and taking the selfie, woohoo, look at me, kind of, and it's like, could you please, if you're going to do an act of kindness, just do the act of kindness. Leave your ego at home. Leave your ego out of it, you know?
Yeah.
And the humanity of meeting somebody face to face and offering, and then if they receive it, is a completely complete act. Yeah, so I really kind of double upped on that, but really it's a complete act. Doing the selfie has got nothing to do with your extension of being kind. That is completely about ego and about yourself. I just thought it was a really brilliant example of how we're so caught up, and I think sometimes actually unaware of what's driving the bus when we're doing those kinds of things.
People like Jim Carrey and Keanu Reeves, like all these amazing people, they do a lot of work and they never talk about it. And there's other side of celebrities who just take advantage of every culture to make millions and billions out of it.
Yeah.
You know, it's just about noticing it, and then at the end of the day, it's their journey and how they're pursuing it.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing for sure, we all go to the depths of pain to experience something different. There would be a point in life that shows them what the life is about. You know, it's almost like an onion, the layers that come out and you just keep learning and keep learning. And I don't know what the end journey is for anybody, but it's just all about exploring and enjoying. Yeah, it's like, as long as you're curious, you're exploring and you're open to the journey, and most importantly, you're enjoying the journey.
And that's where I get caught up is personal development is my life. I mean, it's my work for sure, but it's who I am. Like you, we can't imagine not doing it. And there's that place, and I've said this for years to both people I know, but also to my husband, bless his heart. You know, so for 34 years, he has heard me say, evolution is not an option. And he would say to me, yes, but it is a choice. If you live with me, no, actually not.
Oh.
And yet I've got people in my world that personal development is nothing but woo-woo, fluffy, blah, blah, blah stuff for them, like, but they're happy. And it took me a lot of personal growth here to realize that I don't agree with them, or it doesn't matter. It's not about them. It's about, I do it because it makes me feel good. And I ask my partner to do it because I'm in a very close relationship with him. So I think there needs to be that, how do we find that contentment for ourselves? So what do you want to wrap up with? Any last thing you want to leave somebody with as your words of wisdom?
Well, this is like probably one thing. When the opportunity knocks, never miss out, and then see an opportunity in every situation, irrespective of it's COVID or quarantine time or whatnot. And when I start working with like Jack Canfield, I never thought like I would, co-author this book with him.
Can you remember that when Leanna Jackson owned P3, 5 of us sitting around her dining room table. Leanna said, I want to bring in these really big name speakers. And we're like, we're all in. We will do whatever we need to champion you, girlfriend. And from that conversation, Jack Canfield comes to Kamloops, which is like, definitely not his normal arena. And here you are, how many years later, and the impact, and sitting on a book cover with him.
Yeah, the impact will always be there. We just don't see it, right? And when he came back in 2017, and again, like that's another opportunity to learn from people, right? And sometimes the same publisher comes back and like we heard, like there's a different story. I'm very thankful.
Yeah. Well, I'm thankful for not only the contributions that you make in my life as a friend and as a colleague. I so value the fact that you spend your time learning, diving deep, creating it. The fact that you're taking the time, and you always have, Krishna, in contemplating the bigger pictures of the world, doing the science, doing your own research, making your own decisions so that they're informed decisions for yourself, and then speaking from a place from your heart where you speak with such kindness, compassion, willingness to really see somebody for where they're at and being able to give them that gift of just being seen and heard, and how you take that in and you invest in your kids in that way as well. You have an incredible bond with them because of how you do this work. And I think that's why the gift of the opportunities that come to you, but when you are of service, how you end up filling your cup back. So thank you for being a part of today. I love your words.
I'm glad that we get to have this conversation and share with the world. I just can't wait what else we're going to do.
We'll find more. We'll do more. Beautiful, my friend. I wish you an amazing day.
Thank you, Janice. I'll talk to you
Take
soon.
care. If you want to be a part of Straight Talk or have a leader in mind that would be a great fit, let's have a conversation.